I've never been a huge fan of the DES. Not and I always know where to get it of good quality that I know that it's exactly what it's supposed to be and properly dosed.
Hmm.
I do not enjoy the fact that I have to do intramuscular bilateral injections. And then I'm playing that chase the rainbow game where like I don't want to bring stuff to the gym, stab myself in the parking lot, and then go try and rush to have an expedited workout. So and I don't know if you structure your workouts this way. I've noticed over the years that certain body parts react better to slow twitch fiber training versus fast twitch fiber. So like I can have the greatest back workout ever in 30 minutes and be totally fine. I have to do heavy weight and high volume on leg day, and I cannot have a successful leg day under 2 hours. I'm there forever, but I'm
Wow.
fully
Okay.
aware of that.
Yeah.
So I know that there's certain things that I just can't utilize in like a performance enhancing drug situation. Back in the day when I used to just be this enormous, gigantic freak, which is a great time, I used to use TNE, tesnoester. So I
Mhm.
would do anywhere between, I usually stuck around 50 milligrams about an hour before I would train. And someone tried to tell me, they're like, well, you're missing out on the big peak of that test burst from it because that's around the same time. And I've tried both. I've tried the water-based suspension, which is a huge pain in the ass because then it clogs needle and you got to become this super, injection ninja, and that's never fun. So the test no ester was at least stable and it was easy to do. But that instant test bloat, I know when I look back at old pictures and I was like, damn, that was a crazy look. 100 milligrams as a pre-workout on chest days, dude, there's no better pre-workout. There's no nitric oxide. There's no insulin. There's nothing better than just pure test bloat. And you're just like, I, I am all that is man.
I don't know, man. I don't know if you got into any like the anadrols or the super draws or
I did it all. I think I
the
I truly think if there was a performance enhancing drug out there, I'm sure I've done it.
yeah. It's
I think
crazy.
I think the only one that I was never a big fan of was D. I say that I'm not a big fan of DNP. It works. I just don't like the way that I feel on it because the headaches were so aggressive.
Mhm.
But I think one of my favorites uh, concoctions was the Dan Duchaine stack. You know, test tren and anadrol is wild. And then when you do test tren and anadrol with insulin post workout, whoo, that's a good time.
Yeah, Duchesne was way ahead of his time, man. I got his book sitting right over there. Man, I mean, he was like the original guru.
He was someone that was really able to understand the science behind things, be his own guinea pig, and then find that balance between science on paper and science in real life application because they're not the same thing.
Yeah. Yeah, that's crazy, man.
He would have been a really interesting person to talk to, and if he was able to still be here, of his thought and how he would have approached SARMs.
Yeah, I'm sure it probably would have been a different approach than like the mainstream stuff that you see, I would think.
Yeah, what an interesting bubble that was. For a hot minute, everyone and their mom was taking SARMs, and then one person was like, "Oh, hey, this one particular one is causing liver toxicity," and then everyone was like, "I'm out."
Yeah.
No one ever talked about the blindness that people got from taking S4.
Damn, no. Yeah,
Uh,
I never got into them at all. Like I was just like, no.
they were interesting. Again, I tried them all except for S4. I got into understanding them, and I heard that that was a possibility, and I was like, "Nope, I need my eyes." But LGD Ligandrol, that was a really interesting one because I tried that variation, and I've done it for a couple of athletes too. That variation, instead of Anadrol for the Dan Duchaine stack, test, tren with LGD, and I did notice it did not kill the appetite, that the the size gains were very comparable, which I was really impressed with. But there was a big difference because they're so anabolic and not super androgenic. The muscle density was not there, and there was no added strength gain during that process. So yes, I went from 250 to 270, but there was no additional performance out of it. So you're just like,
Mhm.
cool, I just grew.
Crazy, man.
Yeah. So that was an interesting experiment. So those are fun too.
What's up, Elliot?
Hola,
Hey,
amigo.
how you guys doing?
Good, man. How about you?
I'm doing well. Thanks so much for having me on. Of
Yeah, dude, thanks for coming on.
course, my pleasure.
Yeah.
I feel like Elliot and I are like the polar opposites with our hair. Is the yin to my yang.
But we both got the beard in common though,
Yeah,
so
yeah, Chris, you're missing out. You got to get on this beard train.
Definitely the oddball. Yeah.
You know,
Yes.
I feel like do you remember those little things you'd see at the store, the bald guy with the magnet thing that you would draw and place on his head? That's how I feel right now.
that's a throwback. I remember
Yeah.
those.
Good times.
Yeah. So what's going on, man? How's your day going?
Going great, honestly. Just been working with nationals coming up. I got a lot of guys and ladies 8 weeks out, so kind of that's taken up a lot of my time. But doing a lot of adulting, homeowner stuff, and not nothing fun, but yeah, very important stuff getting taken care of. So happy about it. How about you?
That's good to hear, man. Yeah, gosh, I've been following you for a while. Obviously, your progress is crazy. I think I wanted to have you on for a few reasons, but I think you've kind of done it a little differently from other people to where you actually have the physique to when you do turn pro, you can already literally jump into a pro stage. Whereas, we talk about this a lot, me and Eric on the pod, where it's like all these people, they want the pro card, but then when you get it, it's like, well, you're not going to do any damage on a pro stage, so what's the point?
Got to take a year off.
Or
Yeah.
or multiple years off, right?
Well, I guess it really depends on where you turn pro too. I was just talking about this like an hour ago with one of my guys, Nico. He was like, "Oh, I think I'm ready to come back into bodybuilding." I was like, "Great, do it." And he was like, "Well, what show do you think?" And we started mapping out a game plan. And I said, "If you do how I have this mapped out, you can turn pro at the end of the year. However, you will not be able to compete the following year because you're going to turn pro at one of these small little rinky-dink shows in a different country, but you will not be competitive as a pro. So pick your battles. How bad do you want that pro card, or how bad do you want to be a good pro?"
Yeah, that's it, man.
Yeah, I think there's a lot to be said about that too, with just the addition of fit model, on the female side, and then there seems to be, I think off the top of my head, 3 to 4 more shows where you can get a pro card in classic and men's physique as opposed to bodybuilding too. And then the bodybuilder classes that show up seem to be a little not watered down, but I'd say less volume. I would never knock anyone's quality, but certainly there's less competitors. That's objective. And yeah, a lot of the guys you see, it's just they look like they do need a year or two off before they hop on the pro stage. And I've noticed even in the lighter divisions, let's say we have middleweights, bantamweights turning pro. It seems they might need a little bit of time to be competitive in what is an extremely competitive Pro 212 class right now in the league.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, you said obviously you're a coach, you have some people in nationals. Are you prepping for it, or where are you at like with your career?
Yeah, so I planned on doing nationals, and then it just got to the point where I at before I had 2 people drop out, I had 8 clients doing nationals, and it was really just a business decision where I was like, I'm not gonna put myself above anyone. And then what really got me is I have an excellent client, Cooper Terry, and he is going to be he's probably going to be a heavyweight. And then I have a super heavyweight guy too, and both of those guys I think are going to be competitive in the overall, hopefully. And then it would be why it would make no sense in working with me if I'm gonna be right next to them. I know that's happened before. 2021, I know my friend Jacoby and his client Jordan Wise, they competed against each other, and I believe they were really close friends. I've never met these clients of mine, and it just seemed unprofessional. And so I'm looking to compete a few times and hopefully on the pro stage 2026. So I've geared my sights towards growth and business, and I'm really happy with where I am in life right now, and really looking forward to 2026 getting back on stage.
Hell yeah, that's awesome, man. Yeah, I know. The coaches that do compete, I've had that same issue before, where you like you said, it's I have always put my clients ahead of myself and my own goals. That's just how I've always coached. But it does get to be kind of a crossroads because there's been several years where I've kind of had to like really, really push our plans back. My wife's a pro, she competes too. So we've kind of had to like pick later shows or pick not the optimal shows in favor that our clients get the win. So I think
Yeah,
that is highly respectable.
yeah, you get it for sure. It's because there's the competitive side of you, and then there's the competitive side of you as a coach too. And you want, if someone's going to have your name on their back, you want them to win like you want to win, and so it's really counterproductive or counterintuitive to be possibly up against them head to head. Even though Nationals does have the first and second place pro card, that
Mhm.
was something we discussed. It still didn't sit right with me, and just ethically. And so it'll just be next year for me, and I'm happy to wait and keep growing and getting better. Honestly, it's not like I'm gonna get worse. So
Right, right. What, yeah, if you don't mind, what show are you looking at next year? Or have you kind of pinpointed?
yeah, so I'm looking at the Arnold Amateur, and then I'm looking
Okay,
at USA's. So it'd be really really early, most likely. I
sure.
have one client in that, but he would not be in my weight class whatsoever. He'd be he'd probably be a middleweight. And
Okay,
so that would be, and just one too, as opposed to seven others. So I think
right.
that would be able to be something we could accomplish. And then we're very close friendship wise. And he's coming to stay with me for a couple days here soon. And we have a great relationship. And so it'll be almost fun to do it together. But yeah, I'd love to be in Ohio on February.
Hell yeah.
It's
Yeah,
coming up
we were
fast.
just
That's going to be fun.
Yeah.
yeah, we were just talking about it on our last pod on Monday. I think there's a few of us that'll be going, so that'll be cool, man.
Nice. Yeah, yeah. I'll be there for sure, no matter what.
Okay.
For sponsors, and
Yep.
then whether it'll be in a coaching or competitive standpoint or both. Hopefully, it'll be both because that's kind of what I'm gearing up towards right now. And I'm not saying I don't want anyone to hire me for it, leading up to it, but I really I don't.
Yeah.
At least just be in a different class.
Yeah,
Wellness girls. Hire
men's
Elliott's.
physique, yeah,
Yeah.
anything like that would be great.
Where are you based out of right now? Where
So I'm in like a really small pocket of the Panhandle. It's called Santa Rosa Beach, Florida.
Okay.
Um, a lot of people know Destin, Florida. Are you guys familiar with Destin, Florida?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So it's very much a seaside town, but it has an excellent fitness community. A lot of people are very performance oriented out here. There's a really great like yoga community because of all the beaches, and so a lot of recovery aspects. I'm blessed to have cryo chambers near me. Physical therapists, orthopedics are world renowned, and then Destin Plastic Surgery, where I got my gyno removed. They are fantastic. It's where I get a lot of my IVs done, and things like that too. So I'm in a really nice secluded area where I don't get a ton of traffic like if I were in a big city, but I still have like big city amenities, if that makes sense.
hmm
It's
Yeah,
like
that's
Reno.
awesome.
What's that?
It's like Reno. You got everything that you need, but it's still small enough to where you don't feel bombarded.
Yes, yeah, yeah. And my parents are like a 20-minute drive away. I really can't complain. And then they're actually neighbors with the Suicide Boys. If you guys are
Oh yeah, yeah.
music fans, rap fans, they live out here. They're super chill. So there's a lot of big celebrities that will kind of plant their way in here. And so I've gotten to have some, pretty cool shakeups along that lines.
Very cool, man.
Yeah, super cool.
Now, do you just coach online or are you doing like one-on-one sessions as well?
So I do one-on-one sessions. Typically I'll do 3 to 5 a week right now. I've really tapered that down just due to the volume aspect of what has turned into my online coaching business. And it just is not optimal for my own growth too. If you're in the gym, 4 or 5 hours a day, then you got a 2 hour workout yourself. You kind of just mentally burn out. I don't have a great, reason. That sounds not very tough, but I know what my mind and my body like, and that's the air that I side with.
I stopped doing in-person sessions a while ago, and the amount of just lack of emotional stress. Oh my God. I should have done this years ago. Just you feel so light, so free, not having to be someone's therapist for a solid hour.
That part.
It's very, and don't get me wrong, there are times where it's extremely rewarding, but it's also very emotionally draining. You
Yeah.
have a heavy session and then you got to go and you got to be fun and bubbly for the next person. You're like, dude, like I need a minute now. Like,
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, my client Jeremy, I love him if he sees this, but it also opens up what seems to be a new bridge of like a social network between the client, and they think they can like it's just they have full attentiveness even during your training. So I was about to pass out after a set of hack squats. My legs were cramping so bad, I literally fell over. And my client Jeremy, God bless him, he's standing there, like with his like waiting for me to not be in pain because he's got a question about his programming or something.
Yeah.
Just and so it can be a little awkward at times too if you're training people where you train. But that's the social side of things.
Yeah, not to mention, I mean, you guys are big dudes. It's like I'm not as big as you guys, and even just standing there for like an hour, I'm like my back is already killing me, you know?
your back,
Yeah.
your ankles. It's wild how fast you develop edema in your ankles.
Hmm. I've never experienced that, thankfully. But yeah, you run a little anadrol, you get the lower back pump start getting your GH gets a little higher, and then your arms start falling asleep while you're standing up and loading plates and things like that, and not optimal for comfort, that's for sure.
Yeah, you have too many burritos. Happens too.
That
What,
too, that
what are you gonna
too,
do? What are you gonna do?
yeah.
So I was gonna ask you because everyone's always fascinated with food, and when I see when I see other people's content, I'm always intrigued to see how they portray what it is that they're doing. Because for the most part, bodybuilding is pretty straightforward. You eat, you train, you sleep. Everyone's got their little variants to it, but people are so infatuated with these full day of eating videos. They want to know what you're eating, and it's not that entertaining. I mean, maybe for them it is, but for people like us, I'm like, dude, like, do you really want to see me eat the same shit every single day? I don't want to see myself eat the same shit every single day. But people are always infatuated with people that are above average. Obviously, you have a very unique look. You have very round, full muscle bellies. So everyone's always like, what do people like that eat? So I figured I'd give you the platform. What do you eat?
Yeah, appreciate the platform. It's gonna be somewhat disappointing if you're one of the what's the secret kind of guys. I'm sure we all get that a lot, but the staples are going to be a lot of red meat, a lot of rice-based carbohydrates, I tend to stay away from fibrous carbs like oats and potatoes simply due to the volume that I need to ingest with my metabolism and what my PED stack looks like. I'm burning through glycogen really fast. I have a lot of white poultry, so I'm a chicken and turkey guy, and I don't have anything against fish or shrimp or anything. It's simply what's easier for me to cook in bulk. So practicality comes into play. I ran labs very recently and I found my iron was low. So I've included a lot more of vegetables that are rich in iron, broccolini, and things like that. And yeah, I always use Flavor Gang. Shout out to Ross and the Flavor Gang. The Bowl of Gains, that cream of rice type product is excellent. If you guys have had the chance to try it, they do a bunch of unique flavors. So I'll make protein pancakes with it for breakfast, and then I'll typically my pre-workout meal will be more rice-based carbohydrates from that as well. Fats, I love in the off season to use oils. That's simply because, again, volume. So I'm a big macadamia nut oil guy. Extra virgin olive oil is excellent. Nut butters, I'm a big fan of too. And then for my red meats as well, and I'll supplement with my omega supplements. But again, I feel like that's a very normal, generic answer for guys like us. So it's not too sexy, and that's probably why I don't do the full day eating too much too, because it's just not cool.
Yeah, people always think that there's some kind of magic secret. They're like, oh my God, that guy's over 250 pounds. There's some secret recipe. Dennis James has the secret PED stack because no one else can look like him. Genetics and a shitload of food.
Yes,
And
yes.
and consistency with the food. You can't have like 2 days where you're like, dude, I killed all my food today, and then the next 2 days you're like, nah, I'll go eat out.
Yeah, yeah, you hit the nail on the head. It is a progressive overload of calories over time, in my opinion. And you can feel it, right? It's like I tell clients all the time who are struggling to eat that post workout meal or have that post workout shake is skip it one day and see how sore you are the next day, and I bet you you'll get it in the next workout. It makes a difference.
Yeah. Yeah,
100%.
the consistency with food. I have a bunch of new athletes on my team right now, and I tell them like, look, your first couple days, it's gonna feel super struggle bus trying to get this food in. But after the first maybe 3 or 4 days, it'll level out, and then next thing you know, you're gonna be starving. And just like clockwork. And the girls always fascinate me too. They're like, "Oh my God, I'm so bloated." 3 days later, "I'm starving. I need more food."
Yeah, yeah.
So
It's
you made an interesting mention about a majority of your carbs coming from rice. And like I said, everyone does their own approach. So I wanted to hear your approach on this. Rice digests extremely easy and fast in the body. I say that it digests easy for most people. Some people, have some issues with it, but for the most part, it's very fast, very efficient. It's a great way to load glycogen at a very expedited rate. When you're looking at the science behind the food that you're eating in combination with, let's say we're in an off season, we're in a big push, and the goal is just to gain as much tissue as possible. Now we're looking at our PED stack, and maybe we've got elevated IGF coming into the program as well with some insulin. Do you change the way that you are structuring some of these meals as far as, okay, hey, I know the sweet potato is going to be a really slow digesting thing, but it's very efficient as far as conversion into glycogen, and maybe I'll throw that later in the day. Do you play with stuff like that, or you just know that rice digests well for you and it's consistent?
really, really good points. Yeah, the glycemic index, especially in insulin users, is super, super important to be aware of, especially with how things digest too, like with the fibrous amounts and everything, if that meal has fat in it or not too. So that plays a big role. If I'm having a high day, because basically my diet breaks down to three different parts, and that'll be a high day, a rest day diet, which the macronutrient overall is about the same except for the carbohydrates and the protein swap a little bit, and then a training day where everything is more stable. The calories are going to be pretty much streamlined except for the high day. But again, those macronutrients swap. And so on that high day, I like to run Lantus. And when I'm running Lantus, I'll also combine Humalog with it around my training time to get the shuttling effect for my growth hormone and my IGF-1 faster and shuttle the nutrients into the muscle, right? And so what I'll do is stick to rice-based carbs on those high days specifically, and that it has to do with the long-term effect, the basal metabolic rate of Lantus, and then the Humalog keeps it at a very snapshot type of signaling for me. So if I were to do the Lantus before my fasted cardio, let's say 10 units with my other fasted cardio stacks, I find it's one of the rare times in the off season you're actually going to get like direct lipolysis from when you're in an excess calorie state like the off season. One of the times you can really burn direct fat, and so I'll really leverage the Humalog, the fast acting insulin, with my rice based carbs. And personally, I've noticed, if, like you said, the sweet potato, for example, like yams, that with my Humalog, if I'm taking my blood sugar, I actually stay higher much longer. And so that kind of tells me that it's signaling a little bit slower intramuscular. And then anecdotally as well, I can feel that it takes a little bit longer in the gym to get the effects of my intra workout as well as that pre workout meal that I ingested before.
Yeah, I love this is one of my favorite subjects because I work with a lot of diabetic people. So this is like a really fun one for me. I get like super nerdy. I'm like, oh yeah, we're going to talk about insulin. The sweet potatoes and honey are very similar to the fact that they are very inefficient for performance use because they take too long to break down, and you basically only have half of the carbs used as an energy source, and the other half sit in the liver waiting to be broken down. So when you do them in the evening, especially like pre-contest, getting ready to carb up, because they're able to have a good chunk of osmolarity, they're still pulling a good bit of water. You're able to have a nice efficient glycogen conversion, but also maintaining proper fluid amounts inside the cells. So that's a neat one if you're thinking about it the following day. It's a very inefficient thing to eat for that particular moment. And I'm glad you brought up the insulin as a pre-workout situation. This is just a personal thing. I've never been a huge fan of chasing the sugar, so to speak. I'm a huge fan of it post workout. I really enjoy just like that gigantic driving force of the nutrition shuttle. Are you a exclusive, just a pre-Humalog person, or do you like it pre and post?
I'm a pre and post guy. Typically for myself, if I'm going to be doing Humalog, if I'm choosing between one or the other for clients, I'll do it pre, and that has to do with the growth hormone and IGF. I'll have them administrate intramuscular, typically around where the body parts are being trained, and it's not mandatory, but Frost has a lot of good studies on petri dish growth hormone cells and how they're somewhat of a satellite cell cellular proliferation, site enhancement effect with the GH. But I'll do it pre, and I'll have them just do it before their pre-workout meal. So it's not necessarily. A lot of guys will have that pre-workout meal. It'll digest an hour. They'll go to the gym before they're stepping in the gym. They're pinning their insulin, drinking their shake. I like to load the muscles before with whole foods, and then the pre-reason is also by the time that Humalog is peaking, you're also going to be somewhat finishing your workout, so you're going to get the higher growth hormone shuttling effect as well too. So if I had to choose, it'd be one, but I like to do both. If I'm choosing myself.
I, I wanted to bring up a lot of the insulin related stuff because one, people always have questions, and there's very few people that are either willing to talk about it or people that actually know how to utilize it correctly. Because Lord knows we've all seen some stupid stuff on the internet, and you're like, please don't do that.
Yeah, yeah.
As far as nutrition based around those times, I have my way. I know you have your way. Chris has his way of coaching too. When you're looking at, we'll just keep it off season because everyone wants to get huge. Your job right now is to just shuttle nutrition as efficiently as possible into these cells. What are you looking at food wise? And do you bring in shakes? Do you have like a certain concoction? Because like when I do it, I'll give you an example and you can steal it. Go for it. I like a cold filtered whey isolate, and I will do 30 grams of glutamine. I'll do 10 grams of creatine. Depending on the athlete, I might change it. And you can sit there and make the argument for, well, all creatine goes back to creatine monohydrate. Yeah, but when you're looking at the bioavailability on how that goes, that's a different conversation. But for this, 10 grams of creatine, take it how you want. And then depending on what I have that athlete doing, like if it's one of my big boys and I need a good chunk of carbs, I might have them utilize a carb drink, but for the most part, I keep the post-workout insulin dose relatively low, somewhere in that 5 to 7 IU range, and then it's usually that shake immediately followed by lean protein and then a hefty amount of white rice. I have made some adjustments to that for myself over the years for some other things. I definitely don't do the gigantic 120 grams of Gatorade shit. Thankfully, people don't do that anymore. What are your some parameters that you look for when you're just sitting there like I got to jam as much food and good nutrition back into these cells?
Yeah. So it really depends, I guess, in your scenario, is your athlete drinking an intra-workout with carbohydrates and that type of nutrition, or are you having them sip on something like water or just like electrolytes during their training and then post-workout they're having?
For this
Um,
particular situation, they're just doing water or one of those like electrolyte drinks.
Got you. So personally, I like to do a larger intra workout. I like to have the nutrition spaced in with that way. And the Gorilla Chemist did an excellent post on why that's so beneficial and why I typically will have the Humalog pre because it's going to help that shuttling effect. So you don't just have blood and everything in your stomach. It's going to help disperse that nutrition. So very similar to what you had said is I'll have them do essential amino acids around 15, 10 to 20 grams, depending on the size of the person. Myself, I'll do 20. 10 grams of creatine, just like you said, creatine monohydrate. Um, the glutamine, I love how you do the high dose glutamine. That's something I love to do too. About 20 to 30 grams, depending on the size of the athlete. Taurine as well. And then um, of course, like a highly branched chain cyclodextrin to make sure that they're under, not going hypo or anything and having that uh, flushed intramuscular. And then I typically I find, and John Meadows spoke about this, is that if you have proper intra workout nutrition, I don't think a super fast digesting protein and carbohydrate source is needed immediately after training. So I might have an athlete wait 60 minutes, 45 minutes to where the nervous system calms down and they can ingest whole foods following. I also find that's very practical and enjoyable for people. And then, the economic side of things too. Uh, if it depends on that athlete situation, because I would love for them to have a shake as well. Sometimes it doesn't work out, and the whole food is just more readily available.
Sure. You brought up the carb drink. I wanted I wanted to hear your opinion on this. I've tried a bunch of different ones. I've tried carb blend, I've tried the carb blends. On a personal note, I've always felt the best by taking waxy maize. And I know for me that corn-related products digest extremely easy for me. Again, I know not everyone has that luxury. Do you have a particular one, if not science-based around insulin, but do you have one in particular like, yeah, that's my jam right there?
Yeah, I do like the carbolin. Last I checked, carbolin was the sweet potatoes, yams based with some whole foods in there. Carbolin's great. I personally, if I had my one that trumps everyone is the highly branched chain cyclodextrin. I find that to be the most affordable and best digesting for me personally as well.
Chris, do you use those?
I used to. It's been, I think, maybe 7, 8 months since I've used any peri-workout carbs. Um, I was just kind of like almost just doing an experiment on myself just to see. I know some people like I know Beatty, with his pod, he says, he doesn't do any. He can only do water because it just really detracts from his workout. His stomach doesn't feel great, and he's tried them all. But no, currently I'm not doing any. I've tried them all, like the original Vitargo, you guys probably remember,
Oh yeah.
like the sludge.
Yeah, I was gonna say that stuff doesn't mix well for shit.
Yeah, that Chad would have those guys do. The one that sits best for me is Evogen Glycoject. That one I feel like I don't get any bloat whatsoever. Um, like Elliot was saying, I can only do white rice products. That's it. Um, so Elliot, I had my entire colon removed and almost all of my small intestines. So that's my reason. But so it's only white rice products. Carbolin actually works pretty well. Um, for me, I think even with the aminos and everything, I didn't notice a huge boost in performance, but I also don't disagree like what you guys were saying. I'm sure like for recovery, it's essential, you know.
I feel like most people completely glaze over the glutamine thing. They're so concerned about getting good flavored aminos and, they want grass-fed whey protein, which what a marketing fucking lie that is. Because the whole point about getting grass-fed beef is for better fat content. And then if you're taking a whey isolate, it stripped the fat out, so it doesn't make any difference. The difference is whether you get ion exchange, which is heat extraction, which you are not getting all the lactose out and you're burning part of the product, or you have cross filtration, you have cold filtration. There's a lot of other variations to whey isolate. I would much rather spend a good chunk of money on a 5 pound tub of cold filtered whey isolate and then just dump scoops of glutamine in that because 80% of your skeletal muscle is glutamine. So why would you not take that in abundance? Not only do you need it for muscle recovery, but it balances out, it helps balance out inflammation control, especially if you are jamming large amounts of food. You're helping prevent leaky gut syndrome because now you don't have all this crazy inflammation, which also helps prevent colitis, which is inflammation of the intestines, which you definitely don't want. So glutamine all day. Scoop it.
Yeah, a lot of
Absolutely.
people do miss that for sure. I think honestly for some people they just don't want to spend the extra money, you know.
100%. That's definitely what it is. I'm a big fan of the glutamine too. I'll usually do on a training day 30 grams to 40 grams. On a non-training day, about 20 grams. At about 10 grams AM, 10 grams PM. I'm a huge believer in the gut health side of things, like you said, preventing the colitis, the anti-inflammatory effects, and then the wonderful anti-catabolic effects. It's really should be essential, and it is quite economic. I it's like 100 servings, $20 or something like that. Typically, you see.
Yeah, yeah,
I know that's our
I
price.
don't want to skip over anyone's affiliate codes,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
if you're looking for a good deal, bulksupplements.com.
There you go. There you go.
I don't have an affiliate code for that, but if you want to give me some money, go for it.
Plug them up.
So, gut health, thankfully we are seeing a huge surge in more education throughout bodybuilders. We are thankfully done with the days of just being thorough a meathead. People are very aware of what's going on with their body. They're taking accountability for their own emotional well-being. Mental health is such a big thing right now, which I think it should be for everyone. You need to take care of your demons. Not to say that you need to go to war with them, but to understand them, accept them, and figure out how to move forward. Because you you're never going to forget the trauma, but you can move forward with it. So now that we're very aware of the inner workings of the body, especially with gut health, dealing with inflammation control, not inflammation suppression, big difference. When you're looking at keeping yourself healthy long term, because obviously you're doing a very good job at this, what are you dealing with day to day things for just general health? They would say, oh, you're gonna die huge. Your casset's gonna be big because you're gonna die when you're 30. I was a gigantic super freak. I'm still here, semi-retired, still here. What are some longevity things for people that are active in competitive bodybuilding? Obviously, a lot of the stuff that we do is not super awesome for our health. What are some things that you're looking at while being a large super freak to be able to continuously do this for a long duration of time?
Things I'm looking at, would do you mean like blood markers, or do you mean like products I'm taking, or kind of the whole?
Both, like because you're looking at it from a coaching standpoint too. So I'm assuming that you look at blood work like we do for our people.
Mhm.
What are some key things that you're looking at or that you would want someone to keep an eye out for? Like, I always ask my people to look for a couple of key things. Like, I want them to take a look at their ferritin levels as well as TPO. Even if they don't have a history of autoimmune related issues, I want to get ahead of any potential issue with something like that. And then I can kind of build longevity supplementation around whatever their blood work says, because you don't want to, you're supplementing things in that are missing or that could benefit you. There's no need to be like, here, take 30,000 IUs of this if you don't need it.
You're exactly right. Yeah, I think that's why a coach that doesn't ask for blood work before prescribing things is kind of a red flag. So you're exactly right. Some markers that I really tend to favor would be, let's say, and we're dealing with the enhanced bodybuilder demographic, would be, cystatin C with EGFR, GGT. Obviously, you have your CMP, your CBC. I like to get the creatinine kinase checked, measure that myoglobin within the bloodstream. As someone that's dealt with rhabdomyolysis and hyperkalemia before, that's a field that I feel fairly educated in and have firsthand experience in. So I really like to make sure that our inflammatory markers are, and like you mentioned, the autoimmune, making sure, checking the TPO, making sure we don't have Hashimoto's disease, things like that, that people live with these fatigue symptoms, chronic symptoms, and inflammation symptoms for so long and have no idea why. Getting all those checked is super important. I like doing a lipoprotein graph. That's something I think might be somewhat unique, that I like to take a look at too. And then, of course, there's so much more advanced testing we could get into, specifics. But the things that I really love that I think would be staples for me, would be intravenous glutathione, the most potent antioxidant we're all familiar with. You can do it intramuscular too. That's fine. I prefer intravenous because I'm able to get a higher milligram, threshold in a single session, and it also doesn't hurt. Those shots hurt sometimes intramuscular. TUDCA orally, NAC orally, which is just a precursor to glutathione, but I do believe it does have some benefits and bioavailability orally. I'm a big fan of citrus bergamot. The Complete Health by IRE, from Leviathan Nutrition, excellent stack right there. I like to leverage things like berberine as opposed to metformin or insulin, first and foremost. So uh, I kind of was yapping on an array of things, but just to give a breakdown, those would probably be some of the most commonly used things for me personally, and then in the larger male enhanced demographic.
I think it's these are good things, and I know there's a lot of acronyms getting thrown out there. People are like, "Hang on, I got to record this episode. Go back. What did he say?"
Yeah, yeah. Sorry to not to comprehensive metabolic panels complete.
Oh,
He'll be back.
he'll be back.
I was I like we'll see what your opinion is. I like Dr. Todd Lee because he is like he's just so point blank that I really like that. But
I
I was like, all
I,
right, I
I
listen.
like I like the direct approach,
Yeah.
and you're never gonna always appease everyone. That's just how it goes. There are some things that he has said that I'm like, okay, you are speaking on opinion and not fact,
Yeah.
which is fine. but probably make the disclaimer because when you sit there and push the fact that you're an MD and then you make an opinion, people are going to take that as Bible.
Hmm. Yeah. It's just like you said, and it's like, well, in a lot of things, especially in our sport, there are a lot of ways to do things right.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I was like listening to one of his deals, and he was saying that he was taking liposomal glutathione, and I was like,
Hmm.
yeah, what the hell? This was like, I think this was like 6 weeks out from Atlanta, and I was like, yeah, it can't hurt. I'm already taking, Tudka by Leviathan. I'm already taking my NAC like 1,200 milligrams a day, you know, but I'm like, well, hey, a more efficient, body is just gonna look better. So I got the one that he had recommended. It tasted horrific. Held it under the
You
tongue.
didn't get it in capsule?
No, I didn't know. He was saying he was taking a liquid,
Ew. Oh no. That's so
glutathione.
gross.
Yeah, it's horrible. So, I held it under the tongue for a minute, and then 3 days out from my show, I had blood work, and then I had it tested at 4 weeks post show. Um, but yeah, everything was great. But I've actually had better markers like not using the liposomal glutathione. So,
We lost you, and then Chris started talking about taking a liquid form of glutathione and just letting it sit under his tongue.
Ew, yeah. Sorry about that. My
dude, it
my
was
big ass feet kicked my computer uncharged, but I'm back. Sorry about
oh,
that.
all good, man. No, it tasted absolutely horrific. I mean, and it didn't really improve my labs at all. Not I mean, they were already very good, but it didn't improve them to what, they were at like, I don't know, 10 weeks out, something like that.
I think the utilization of glutathione is if you were taking something that was extremely liver toxic, it would be very beneficial for that particular situation. But I know that you're a less is more kind of person, so it's not like you're taking the whole kitchen sink and you're like, well, I hope my liver holds up.
Yeah. Right, right.
I know some people that do that. That's so scary.
Yeah, it only works
Dude,
for so long.
dude, people send me some of the craziest stuff. They're like, "Hey, I brought on this new athlete. They came from so and so. Here's the protocol that they wrote." I'm like, "There's no way someone took that just in a single week. Like, is that a 12-week long protocol? Because those dosages are crazy." They're like, "No, that's what it is." I'm like, fuck, crazy. Speaking of gross tasting things, dude, liquid orals are gross. When
Never
I like,
never had
I
one.
you've never had a liquid oral?
No, luckily I've always had the pressed pills, thankfully.
Oh man, one, you're missing out. So when you look at, we'll go super nerdy for this one. I was going to skim across this, but we'll go super nerdy. When you talk about the bioavailability of stuff, oh, I just brought this story up. You know Brandon Outlier from Biohacking You.
Yeah.
So I'm one of the educators, if you will, in one of his groups, and I'll chime in there when I get a couple moments of free time. And recently, someone was talking about the bioavailability of something in an injection or oral form and stuff like that, which gave me the opportunity to just go super nerd with it. And I was like, yes, now's my time to shine. But when you talk about things from a manufacturing standpoint, like we'll stick with like a UGL company, or even someone who, buys the raw materials for like a research chemical company and they're going to sit there and make a bunch of Arimidex. 1 milligram of Arimidex is a very small amount. So when you're doing it in a liquid solution, it's easier to keep things at a correct dose, especially then you're not, dealing with the pill press and you're figuring out how much magnesium and the lactose and everything to put and yada, yada, yada. And that breaks down at a different rate of dealing with the liquid oral. And especially if you're adding something like DMSO in there to increase the bioavailability, yada, yada, yada. I brought that up because I have a prescription for Arimidex. I also have a prescription for Aromacin, but I purposely like the liquid one because I truly feel that um, I have a better feel it, seat of the pants moment. But damn, if there was ever a taste that could describe white trash vodka, Oh man, dude, I got some Aromasin from. It's not even one of my normal vendors that I deal with. It was a different company, and it was so gross. But my blood work came back so good. I was like, dude, like this is the best like my estrogen has looked in years. I was like, there we go, 25 milligrams once a week. This is how we're cruising on TRT now. Fuck yeah.
That's nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, I probably have used some of that stuff. I was in high school during the peak of the enhanced athlete. Liquid, everything you could get. Viagra, Romasin, basically everything was available in those liquid forms.
Yeah.
Uh, Boston Lloyd was showing everyone how to get those back in the day, and I think I had like raloxifene because I had really bad gyno as a teenager, and so I remember doing one dose of that and almost like throwing up because I probably didn't even shake the vial. I probably just got everything at the bottom, and I've been a pillhead ever since that. I can't get away from them.
And that's okay. And for traveling wise, that's one of the reasons why I have prescriptions for everything because I travel around the world and I got to bring all my shit with me. So, you and I have a lot of the same affiliate marketing stuff that we do together. I think the only one that we don't do together is who's it? How do you pronounce it? Algro? Algo.
Algo RX, yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah,
I'm not affiliated with them, but I enjoy the stuff that they do. They offer a really neat service. So shout out to them.
yeah. Algo's the best. Code Elliott, also the best code to use. Don't ask why.
I got a good liquid story for you guys.
All right.
It's actually a bad one if once you guys hear it. So this was a while ago, and I was coaching a female athlete, and we were it wasn't like a check-in day, so we were talking about some of the upcoming things we were going to use, one of them being CLEN, and she only had liquid CLEN available. And she wanted to get a jump on her program, like because when we started for the prep, like we weren't in the most optimal body fat range. We had a lot of work to do, right? So she texted me. This was like a weekend, so it's not a check-in day for me. Tuesday is a typical check-in day, and she's like, "Chris, I'm feeling like really really sick. I feel absolutely terrible." And I'm like, "What's going on?" Like, she's like, "Well, I took some CLEN. I just wanted to just I was so motivated, so I took some CLEN, went to the gym, and I had to stop. I'm like cold and sweating, and my heart rate's just racing." And I'm like, "All right, well, how much did you take?" And she's like, "I don't know." So I'm like, "All right, go home, send me a picture of what you took and everything. Send me the bottle." And I'm like, I don't even know what you have, right? So she goes home, and I'm like starting to worry. I'm like, "Gosh, I hope she didn't do what I think she did."
Whole dropper.
And she goes home, and she had, of course, the liquid CLEN, right? 200 micrograms per milliliter. She had drawn it up with a 3 cc syringe.
Oh,
So we're talking 600 micrograms of CLEN in one shot. And at this point, like I'm worried. I'm like, I hope she's gonna make it. Because I'm like, I can't even imagine. I mean, I've never taken anything over 80, so I can't even imagine what 600 micrograms would do. But long story short, everything worked out. You know,
yeah. It
but
takes about 4 days. I had someone do that, and they took a full dropper,
oh.
and I was like, "Well, good news, you have no more asthma."
Right?
They didn't laugh.
Yeah, it's just one of those things like with clients, like you guys all know, you have to I hate to say like dumb it down, but you have to be so explanatory to where it
I
has
send
to
I
be
send
like
pictures because
foolproof.
I'll
Yeah.
if I tell them like I need you to take 10 micrograms of Clen, obviously that's a very small amount. I have a picture on my phone that I drew a green line on. I'm like, this is how much you take. They're
Yeah.
like, oh, okay, cool. Thanks for the visual.
Yeah, it's crazy too because even with that, like yourself, Eric, I only do pictures. I'll even do like a video, like a self demonstration to where I'm like, all right, this is what it's going to equate to. And people still mess up, like they rush or they don't like read the directions properly. And then it's like, you know,
People have a really hard time understanding the reconstitution for peptides.
mhm.
And they're like, well, how come the measurement for growth hormone is different? Like,
And there's apps for that now. You
oh, I send them screenshots. I use
you
the
guys
peptide
know.
calculator. Yeah. I'm like, dude, like it even gives you a picture. It tells you like this is how much to inject. Like the math is done for you. This is how much backwater you use. Boom, done.
It's crazy. I probably the number one text I've sent is uh, a unit of measurement is different than a dose. They literally don't get that. Like, so on the topic of insulin, they're like, hey, so if I pull to the 10, is that 10 of insulin? I'm like, are you using insulin? They're like, yeah. Is it an insulin syringe? They're like, yeah. I'm like, then yeah. And then they'll be like, hey, so I got this growth hormone from this source, this growth hormone from this source. The bottles are different. If I pulled a 50, is it still going to be 50? I'm like, that's a unit of measurement. The international unit is the dosage of growth, or the milligram is the dosage of growth hormone. And I just, it's like, that's probably the number one conversation I've had, you know,
Pe People
this
just
season.
cannot fathom the idea that growth hormone is available in different dosages. They're like, hey, I got an email from this company and they have a deal going on. A kit is 75 bucks. Well, this other company has a kit that says it's 300 IUs. Why is it so much more? Like, all right, Linda, I'm gonna need you to listen to me on this one.
They're not all 10 by 10. Are you sure?
Like, how
It's
come
not
this one
all
says
100 IU.
3.3? Why does this one say 10 milligrams? Like, all right, let's go back to elementary school. Let's do some
Break it out.
math.
Man, I one time I had to explain like a client had ordered some stuff, some pills on on their own accord, and they had gotten, let's say it was Anavar, right? So they had ordered from a site, they got it, they used up the bottle, and then they ordered from the site again. And you guys know, like there's a bunch of different brands, just like you go to Target, there's a bunch of different, pain relievers, let's say, right? They're different brands,
Sure.
different pill size, different colors. And they had sent me the screenshot of the picture and everything, and they're like, I don't understand. This can't be Anavar. And I'm like, what do you mean? I'm like, send me the label. So they send me the label, Anavar, 10 milligrams. Yeah, but it's a different color. And I'm like, all right, do you still have the other? Do you still have the other box? She shows me the other box, and I'm like, this is just a different company. I'm like, there's a million different companies of any product that you could buy. It's a different company. Like I was just blown away that I had to explain that this is just a different company.
Yeah, people are funny about stuff like that.
You've
I
all
mean,
been there.
there wouldn't be any sales if there was like one company for everything. There's one vehicle, there's one pain reliever. Like,
I mean, maybe in North Korea, but not here. Speak, Speaking of frustrating things that people have a hard time understanding, you want to talk about IGF? Because I feel like I've tried to explain this to people and they get very confused. So, IGF being insulin-like growth factor, we'll stick with just things that are relatively available for people. Talk about the peptides, IGF-DES, IGF-LR3. Obviously, there's more available, but to the masses, probably not much. What are your thoughts on these? Are these things that you like to utilize?
So I'm a big fan of IGF, LR3. You know, you said it really well. We're not all going to get our hands on acrylics, and we're not all going to be able to afford that. So LR3, I'm a big fan of. You know, it's the synthetic analog of human-like insulin growth factor one, and so it's really great at cellular proliferation. It's got about a 20, they argue 20 to 30 hour half-life. It's kind of it's somewhere in between there. And some of the human studies we have, It's available for some prescriptions through compounding pharmacies, like you brought up Algo. We're able to prescribe it legally, although it still is a research chemical, and you have to sign off on that when you get it prescribed. So I do like it. Now, I think a lot of people don't understand application when it comes to IGF, and a lot of it has to do with the esters or the DES versus LR3, because there's such a huge variant between the 15 to 30 minute, arguably half life, compared to the 20 to 30 hours. And they're also I think they're using either too little or they're just simply not reconstituting properly. You really need, this is something Chase Irons taught me, and showed me a lot of great data on, is the acetic acid has to be used to reconstitute the LR3. And so I'll get people saying, hey man, I bought IGF-1 from your company, and I felt great day one, day two, day three, and then it kind of turned to bunk. And I'm like, well, yeah, because you put it in sterile water, you put in backwater, and it's going to lose its potency after a certain time in the refrigerator, even if it is remained at that temperature. And then the DES is a lot easier for people to, we'll say, believe in, because if you were to inject, your biceps with water and go train, that inflammatory effect is going to have some type of, expansion. You're going to feel more pumped. So the DES people really like. Now, whether that is pre-workout or post, I like to do the DES post-workout. I
Oh,
think
interesting.
driving those satellite cells into that damaged tissue of where you just trained is something that's going to get the most benefits from the IGF. But if I had to pick a perfect cycle, I mean, the synergistic effects with growth hormone, and the LR3 for about a 4 week period, and then going to something like PEG, MGF, and hitting that same receptor that the IGF-1 binds to. I think there's a lot to be said for, you can make some serious gains on that. I'm a big fan.
I am too. It's one of the things that I utilize for type 1 diabetics. It works extremely, extremely well. I can take
Yes.
people completely off of everything from Lantus, metformin, Humalog, Humulin, whatever their normal diabetic medication is. By utilizing IGF-LR3, they come off completely. I've never seen anyone who did it consistently had any of their resting glucose over 90. It's fantastic.
Yeah, the resensitization to insulin, it's people don't understand too, like taking Humalog does not sensitize your body to insulin. You're simply manufacturing your synthetic insulin, and giving the pancreas a bit of a break, if you want to talk about like a benefit. But the IGF-1 actually resensitizes the body to that insulin. And that's why people are like, man, I was in the gym, and I had to, sip my drink or get a snack or something. I was going a little hypo, and they're surprised. I think that's a component of IGF that's not regularly talked about. And yeah, like you said, it's excellent for people that have very high running glucose, pre-diabetic, diabetic. You hit the nail on the head there.
Yeah, I think that's a very misunderstood, because the way that you're constituting it, and then that was a great approach. I've never heard of anyone talk about utilizing DES in a post-workout situation, but it makes tremendous sense. I was just complaining to Chris at the beginning of this how much I didn't like DES because I'm always chasing it, and I feel like I'm rushing in the gym, and I can feel it when it drops off, and it's the most frustrating thing. You're like, "Yo, I'm not done trying to get huge. Like, stay with me."
Yeah, and that's something that I think is the struggle point of the practicality of that pre-workout is, I really, as a coach, like, how often I'm going to get a guy sitting in the parking lot, pinning himself,
I just
running
said
to his
this.
gym, you know what I mean? It's like blasting it in there, scanning in, going to the bathroom, and 5 minutes go by, and he's like, darn, I'm losing my stuff. But that's why I like, the immediate post-workout administration. You go to the bathroom, go to your car, get it done, and you're going to get that enhanced glucose and amino acid uptake of your intra workout that myself and my clients are using. And then you're also going to get that satellite cell activation to that damaged tissue. So I think that's a great way to um, is it is going to be systemic to a degree, but is it going to help bring up maybe a lagging body part? Anecdotally speaking, I've had amazing success with my arms doing that, and I have seen that in clients as well.
Yeah, I've seen it work great. I've had a couple people that had lagging upper body or upper chest utilize it, and it's been fantastic. Um,
Yes.
I did want to, I wanted to bring something up because there's not a whole lot of people that talk about it, nor is there a whole lot of people that even do it. Myostatin related things. Um, I know you've had some experience with follistatin, and I wanted to hear your thought on it, but I also wanted to bring up an interesting concern that someone brought forth to me, and it's been something that lingers in the back of my mind about myostatin inhibitors of all types. Do you have any concerns long term? Because myostatin being the regulation of the body's ability to control its muscle growth, the heart is a muscle. And this was an interesting concern that someone brought up that said, if you take away the governor, so to speak, and your body is just able to grow as much as it wants, wouldn't the heart continuously grow as well?
That is that's certainly a concern, but I think my counterpoint to that would be how much activation is a muscle like the heart getting for satellite cells? Like how much satellite cells is the heart truly activating? I don't think it's going to have a lot of turnover there for unless of precondition, predeposition exposed and everything. I don't think there's a whole lot of satellite cells being brought away towards that as opposed to muscle tissue. And the same could be said for the intestines and organs and things like that because follistatin it's a glycoprotein, so it's going to be naturally produced in the body that inhibits myostatin anyways. And if you're just taking that on one end of things, I don't know. I don't know if we can't really trace that into a study, but again, my estimation would be that in short-term stints and uses and stages to break plateaus, I think it has a safe model of use.
Yeah, it was definitely an interesting conversation to have for sure. Definitely makes you think about it because then I tried them all. I tried all the fun stuff. I really enjoyed YK11 a couple years ago. I thought it was very beneficial, and it was definitely something that I really noticed. I did notice. I don't know if you've had this experience. Once I started getting over the 15 milligram dose over the 3 week time frame, dude, my joints just started to kill me. My elbows were just on fire.
Were you doing injectable or oral?
Oral.
Oral, yeah, same. So when you look at them, and I'm sure you already know, but when you look at the molecule, it's basically a DHT steroid. It's like, essentially the same thing. So it's quite anabolic on its own. The myostatin inhibition property of it is somewhat of a side effect. It's observed in the rat studies we have, um, which is which is good. But just YK11 by itself is something I really enjoy. I've done oral and injectable, and I implemented in when I believed I was having a plateau. And what I defined plateau was certain biomarkers. My glucose started to run higher. I was groggier in the morning, more fatigue, CNS strain, things like that. And so I implemented not only a deload, but I threw in the YK. And like you said, immediate, like literally immediate results, like so much better in terms of performance. My strength went through the roof. I got very dry, vascular, and hard. And week 2 or 3, I was like, "Am I running Winstrol or YK?" Because holy shit, my fucking elbow is killing me right now. So totally same experience.
Yeah, I thought it was a really neat one. I was trying to describe it to someone. They're like, everything just gets bigger, and I'm like, yeah, but not in the fashion that you think it does. Like, it's not like, oh, I went from looking, like a 160 pound runner to now I look like Elliott in 4 weeks. I'm not turning into the Belgian Blue Bull, but I did notice that, especially like in the biceps, um, the bicep fiber itself, and I point this out because I don't have great range of motion because I got T-Rex arms, so that's just pretty much as far as I can reach. The bicep fibers really felt like steel cables. They were just so thick. I did notice that probably about an extra 8 weeks once I stopped taking the YK11, it did go back to some kind of normalcy. But it was definitely a lingering effect. It was very interesting.
Yeah, yeah, that's something me and my client Tanner Tattard, if you guys are familiar, we talk about that a lot too. He's not completely sold on full statin, as I am in the myostatin inhibitors. I think that's kind of the next big thing. Kind of like how they're talking about, GLP-4 will be through a IGF-1, type of affinity, but
Yep.
when you're looking at the full statin we're using, and it's the full statin 344 is what at least I've used. That's what I have access to. The synergistic benefits with growth hormone, insulin, IGF-1, and things like that really help to increase not only the size of the fibers you have, but the number of fibers too. So I like to, microdose it about 50 micrograms, 100 micrograms, 10 to 20 day periods. And I think that's a safe model of use. I have seen no side effects. It's not me telling anyone to do anything. But to your point, I think I notice a intense hardness in the muscle, and it's a look that I really want to try to leverage to bring to stage at some point. If not in myself, then in someone else, because of course they're best in the growth phase to when your myostatin's the highest, but I think there's other properties that really help increase the cosmetic appearance of people too. So something I'm looking to learn more too. So I'm sure we'll discuss it a lot more in the future.
Yeah, I think the follistatin future or inhibiting as a whole has a very bright future. Because obviously, if you can make more gains and leverage less drugs, sweet. And that's always
Yes.
that's always the idea. It makes me think about Rich Piana.
Yeah.
It's like, if I could just be huge and run less gear. Um, where was I going to go? I had another question, but I'm having a brain fart now. Chris, you had a question?
Uh, no, I knew one guy that was using it. Um, Gosh, he was a freak, and I mean, I have to say, at least from the pictures he would send me and everything, I was convinced. I have no experience with it, but I mean, this guy was an absolute freak. I mean, so um, I don't know if things have changed, but I know like it was pretty spendy, like per month to run an appreciable dose. But yeah, from the pictures I saw, I was a believer.
Yeah, when I'm trying to, I wouldn't say sell people on it, but if someone has an interest in it, I would say invest 20 days worth of 100 to 200 micrograms and eat your normal caloric intake and do everything else. Don't change any other variables. Simply add the full statin because it acts as like a super compensation type of drug, and so what you're going to get from that is even on a normal caloric intake, those fibers theoretically are still supposed to expand, multiply, grow. And that's one of the experiments I've run on myself. And I gained 5 pounds in a 20-day period, and I was noticeably leaner in my body composition. And exactly like he said, it's a hardness to the muscle that really it's wiry. Your skin gets really almost like you're drinking Winstrol every day. I think that's a good way to describe it.
Sounds pretty good.
Yeah.
Now, are you taking like you go for 20 days? Are you taking 20 days off, or what is like your like off time?
Oh man. I mean, if I'm writing up a protocol, I would probably do 20 days to 4 weeks at the most. And then I would probably do 2 to 3 months off.
Okay,
And then if let's say I'm coaching Elon Musk, we might, do 400, 500 micrograms for a 30-day period and see where that goes.
sure.
Again, it's the economic and practicality side of things. It's a very expensive compound. It's
Yeah,
hard to source. When it comes in the mail, you're babying it to your fridge because it's so delicate and expensive. So,
yeah.
but I'm a believer. It's something I'm going to continue to use in my career, and I think it is the next big thing.
Very
You're
cool.
talking about being a self experiment, so to speak. You tried something. I feel like I've tried just about everything except for this one thing, and I've been having a hard time sourcing it. So I was going to ask what your honest thoughts were about this. I think the acronym is ITTP or ITPP.
IT ITPP. Yeah, yeah,
Okay,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah. That
This science behind this is got to be one of the coolest things because I talk about manipulation of this exact thing in the Bohr effect of the body with bringing in carbon dioxide, forcing the body to release oxygen to circulate through the body. But from taking a particular compound that directly increases the body's oxygen circulation, like, dude, sign me up. What were your honest thoughts about it? Because I know I remember seeing you talked about it. You're like, oh, I'm going to do this for a leg day, and I was like, oh yeah, tell me about it.
Yeah, so I believe the mechanism of action is that you know how hemoglobin typically stores oxygen. I believe it releases oxygen from that hemoglobin into the bloodstream and into the muscle. Am I correct on that?
Yep, yep, yep.
Yeah. So pretty much, um, I when I first time I ever got rhabdo was I knew I needed to improve my cardiovascular system to prevent getting it again, and so I was doing a lot of HIIT cardio, and I was doing research on this ITPP, and my first source was a veterinarian's website because they use it for racing horses, and it was the most disgusting paste ever. Like I was, I don't, I must have been like really, really hardcore back then because I was like putting this nasty paste in my mouth, and uh, dose was probably all messed up. And then wonderful company Modern Aminos comes along, and we have these beautiful capsules, and I'm able to leverage that. And I think the best way to compare it would be cardarine plus EPO. Uh, Endless endurance, and I can't emphasize that enough. Is if I was doing legs, of course, and I was doing the pendulum squat, and I had 6 plates on the side, and I hit my PR of about 15 reps, and my heart rate. I remember looking from the machine to my Apple Watch was 95 beats per minute, and I did about a few more reps, reached muscular failure, got off the machine, and I think I was at like 100 beats per minute. I mean, my cardiovascular system that day. I don't think I sweat. It's certainly something that I don't know how I would consistently use it, you know, in a prep setting, in an off-season setting. But man, it's fun. It's fun to use on those leg days with your friends, or you know, sneak a pill in before you go train with someone that you've never trained with before, and they think you work out like this all the time. Uh, that would be like the way I would use it. But a great experience for me.
Yeah, that's really neat. Because obviously, larger guys, we don't have the greatest cardio endurance. There's no doubt about it. Uh, I know this. I can only be on top for so long before I'm like, I'm tapping out. It's all you, woman. When I first met my wife, I was still freakish. I was still, a gigantic, walking pharmacy, and we were getting ready to go on vacation. She was in prep, but I was trying to be a good boyfriend, and I was suffering with her. So I'd go and do these spin classes with her. But at, a relatively lean 270 pounds, I'm 5'9". That's a big dude to ride a spin bike. And so I would take 20 milligrams of cardine and I would take 10 micrograms of CLEN an hour before I'd go do the spin class. And they'd be like, how can this big guy do this entire hour long class? I'd be like, what? An hour? Let's go. 2 hours? Sign me up, bitch. One time I had stuff going on that day. I dropped off the kid at preschool and I was like, okay, I'll take the kid to preschool and then we'll go to the spin class. I forgot. I didn't make it 10 minutes. I tapped out. I left the room. I was like, I'm too fat today. Not for me.
That's crazy.
So now my
Yeah,
wife gives me shit all the time. She's like, you're not an athlete. You just like drugs. Whoa. Whoa.
guilty,
Yeah.
guilty. The because it increases your VO2 max, which is you know, that's going to improve your cardiovascular efficiency, but it has like some anti, well, what is it? It's like anti-hypoxia effects as well too.
Which one?
Uh,
Carding?
yeah, the ITP.
ITPP.
Yeah. So, when the reverse of that is when you're training and the muscles, they turn purple almost. Like Jay Cutler was
Yep, you,
famous for.
you beat me to it. I was just going to talk about Jay. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Jay Cutler was famous for that. And so it actually has the reverse effects on that too. So, I think it's such a cool compound. I'm really glad you brought that up. You never hear about that ever.
Mm-mm.
No, because I mean, for the longest time, Jay started turning his back blue, and people are like, "Oh my God, Jay's so sick, he's gonna die." And I'm like, "No, he has starved the muscle of oxygen because he's got such a crazy pump. Like, that's not a normal thing. You
Yeah.
you would kill if you could experience that one time. That if your pump was so gnarly that you starved the body.
Yeah. Or you have that much muscle to feed too.
Yeah,
Like,
Hmm.
the the uh, the craziest pump I ever had. I was trying to, out ego lift a gym bro, and we were doing legs. The quad pump was so immense, it literally ripped the skin on my left leg. I always thought that was just a figure of speech. I didn't know you could really have skin bursting pumps.
hmm.
I've never had it again, but I always think about that. I'm like, one time I trained so hard, I broke my body.
That's crazy, man.
Yeah.
Yeah. Medal of
I
Honor.
had I had hair then too, so it's been a while.
You might have peaks. You might have
Yeah, I
peaked.
peaked. I'm old now. It's all downhill. I just coach. I live through my people.
Nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with that.
Elliot, were you at the Olympia?
I was not at the Olympia. Me and my girlfriend had to do some adult stuff. We really wanted to go. My sponsors wanted us to go, but we'll be at the Arnold. Uh, and I'm really looking forward to that. I'll be at Nationals,
Yep.
but yeah, was not able to make any pool parties this year, unfortunately.
Yeah. Well, I
Hey
guess yeah,
man,
we'll talk about it real quick and then we'll wrap us up. But did you watch the live stream, or I'm sure you've seen all the clips and everything.
Yeah, I've caught up. Today I saw Derek won with a pec tear. I think that's pretty awesome. But yeah, I've got some opinion. I'd love to hear your guys.
Yeah. So Eric knows. So I go every year. It was actually my 21st year going.
Wow.
Yeah. And we were in the fifth row. So we're like 10 feet from stage. I mean, we're literally right there.
Chris's audience pictures that he sends in are so cool. They're way better than anything you see on the internet.
That's so
Dude,
badass.
I'll
I
send
love
you a
it.
bunch after this pod.
Do it.
Yeah. But I was sitting next to Larry Pepe. Do you guys know who he is?
The name sounds
Yeah.
familiar.
Big commentator, bodybuilding.com. He's commentated Olympia many times, among other shows. But he didn't know who I was, and I was like, Larry. So we were talking the whole show, and for Friday, we could literally see it immediately. We're both like, he's got a pec tear. Like before they put all that stuff, we literally were like, you could see it right there. You could see it in the side chest, and then on the most muscular, he wouldn't like clench down as much, so you could kind of hide it. But yeah, I think that, kind of reminded me like of Dorian Yates, coming in with injuries, torn muscles
Well, you remember when Jay came and he had to put makeup on the bicep
on the
tear.
bicep. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. But yeah, honestly, I mean, like we had a big crew like we normally do, and I feel like Hottie for sure should have won. Just harder, from top to bottom. I think Derek was a lot better when he won the Olympia and then the year before. I feel like he just brought that dry, crisp, hard muscle to where it was just so impressive. And now it's kind of like, yeah, he's fuller, but there's also a lot of, detail that's missing.
We talked about this where everyone's got that once in a lifetime peak. And I think for him, it was the Arnold.
That
Really
was a
good
good
point.
look.
It's a very good
Yeah.
look.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I noticed, especially in this Olympia, towards the finals, he really started to fade.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah, and Peter was at Peter's a regular on the pod. He was at the Arnold. He's sent me a few pictures, and I mean his Arnold look was way better than the Olympia look.
That's
But
crazy.
yeah,
Yeah.
what'd you think, Elliot?
I thought it was probably from a guy on his phone. You know, I wasn't there. I thought it was kind of a boring show.
Mhm.
I thought the hype of what the fans, myself included, around Nick, Derek, and oh boy,
Andrew.
the
Beirut.
Beirut. I thought the hype was a bit of a letdown.
Mhm.
I thought Nick came back head and shoulders better at night than he did in the morning, and he deserves a ton of credit for that. Him and his team, and I love Nick. You know, we're good friends, and so I think his last, you know, the New York Pro and his Pittsburgh look were just so good. He improved very drastically. I thought it was going to carry him, and he was my winner. You know, I predicted him to win, and
Mhm.
well, I'm very happy Derek won, just competitively speaking, because you know, go America and all that stuff. um, but yeah, Hottie looked. I think that was his best look ever from what I could tell online. Andrew being in third, huge congrats to him. I mean, he also continues to improve in his 40s. I
Mhm.
think that's incredible. Samson, I think consensusly was very flat, but I think he can fix that very easily. He's a champion for a reason. And then, you know, Tonio. I don't think enough people are talking about how good Tonio is.
Right.
Tonio is a good friend of mine, and I got some pics and things like that that I don't think were posted anywhere, and it's like not even human, like left humanity behind so long ago. And
He's
so
going to do
I,
so good in Mexico. I'm super jazzed for that.
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, him and Jacoby are killing it. So super happy to see good friends of mine like him and Jordan Hutchinson, my boy Jordan. You know, 12th place could have been higher, but just to see him up there, like your friends up there, is so crazy. So it was really cool, and I'm really happy with the way the judging went down. I think I wouldn't disagree with anything. You think Hottie should have won? I could definitely see that. I'm also happy with Derek winning too. That waist and his leg. I think this was the best his legs have looked, honestly, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean they've been downsized a lot. You know, we've seen it several times, and this time they were blasting full, which is good for the balance top to bottom.
Hmm. Absolutely.
Yep. But yeah, this was a good one, man. We appreciate you coming on.
Yeah.
My pleasure. Yeah, this has been great. You guys have been very nice to talk to. Obviously, incredibly intelligent gentlemen, and again, just grateful to be on. You guys gave me a platform, and couldn't be happier to be a part of it.
Hell yeah,
This
man.
is it's like that you've seen that movie Step Brothers?
Of course, of course.
This is a house of learned doctors.
Yep.
Love it, love it.
But yeah, I'll shoot you those pics later, man. You can see what you think, and then I'll hit you up once we release the pod too.
Please do. That'll be awesome.
Sure.
Yeah, really looking forward to it. Yeah,
Yeah.
thank you guys again. I really appreciate it, and yeah, I hope you guys have a wonderful night. And if you ever want to have me on again, more than happy to.
Oh yeah, yeah. And if not, like I said, I have a feeling that we'll see you at the Arnold. So
Yes, we'll be there for sure. Won't miss
I'll
that.
let you
Won't
know
miss
for sure.
that. Absolutely.
All right, boys. You
All
guys have
right.
a good night. Till next.